Nuts About Cars. Storytellers episode, Gone Forever, Until It Wasn't. Hey everyone, my 79 Trans Am. What you're about to listen to is my story on what a car meant to me and how I thought it was gone forever. You will join us on our journey from discovery to loss and back to discovery. Join us as we go to negotiate, and then the next day, our adventure of driving it home through a storm that probably should have told us to turn around. The trip out there was 2 hours on the highway, 2 hours of steady pavement and quiet thinking. When something matters, the radio feels wrong. You shut it off. Conversation fades. The car gets quiet. 2 hours is a long time to revisit a decision you made years ago. I had one of these before. I had to give it up. And for a long time, I didn't say it out loud, but I believed it. That chapter was closed. Not hard to reopen. Closed. Gone forever. But unfinished promises have a way of circling back when you least expect them. The origin of the imprint. This story doesn't start with me. It starts with my older brother, John. Lucerne blue, gold trim, WS6, before I even knew what WS6 even meant. That car didn't just sit in the driveway, it occupied space. When it idled, it sounded like it had authority. When it pulled away, it left silence behind. And when you're younger, you don't realize you're being imprinted. You just know that something about that shape, that hood bird stretched across the metal, that shaker scoop rising and falling with the throttle. Feels like power. Feels like identity. That car wasn't transportation. It was a blueprint. This one I'm buying, it's gonna wear that color. Not because it's trendy. Because it's memory. Because some dreams don't start with you. They get handed down. The first Trans Am. When I bought my first Trans Am, I didn't feel cool. I felt complete. I remember standing there after I bought it. Friends around. My wife wasn't my wife yet. I was emotional. Not because it was fast, because it felt like I'd reached something that lived in my head since I was a kid, watching my brother's car idle in the driveway. I thought it was mine forever. Then life showed up. Bills that didn't care about horsepower. Family that depended on stability. There's a moment in a man's life where your dreams stop being private. They compete. With groceries. With tuition. With peace in your home. I chose responsibility. And I would make that same choice again. But that doesn't mean it didn't cost something. I remember the day the buyer came. Sunlight cutting across the hood in the garage, dust in the air. The car was clean, almost too clean. I ran my hand across the fender without meaning to, just a quick pass. Like saying goodbye without admitting you're saying goodbye. When he drove away, I closed the garage door before the sound fully disappeared. That was the mistake, because when I opened it later, the garage felt wrong. Too wide, too quiet, too responsible. I told myself it wasn't gone forever. But the market didn't agree. Within a year or two, they exploded. $4,000 cars became $20,000 cars. That's when the truth set in. It wasn't just sold, it was out of reach. Gone forever. Not because it didn't exist. Because I had stepped off the train at the last affordable stop. That kind of regret doesn't shout. It sits quietly in the passenger seat for years. There's a moment before you sell something like that where you already know the decision, but you haven't admitted it yet. It wasn't dramatic. It was numbers. A stack of bills on the kitchen table. Insurance premium due. Mortgage staring at me. A baby monitor humming softly in the background. I remember sitting at that table late at night. House quiet. Everybody asleep, calculator in my hand, running the numbers twice, then 3 times, trying to find a way where I didn't have to choose. There wasn't one. The car wasn't the problem. The timing was. I remember looking out the window toward the garage and thinking, you're a luxury right now. That's a hard word to assign to something you love. Luxury. It sounds selfish when you say it out loud. But stability isn't optional when people depend on you. So the decision wasn't emotional. It was protective. And protection has a cost. When the buyer handed me the envelope, it felt heavy. Not because of the money, because of what it represented. Relief. And here's what made this different from years ago. I could afford it responsibly now, not recklessly. That changes the emotional equation. Because now, it isn't about sacrifice. It's about whether I'm brave enough to try again. We drive out there. My wife, brother-in-law, my friend Josh. Basically my support structure. Because I know myself. I buy with my heart. When I see that hood, I'm already halfway sold. We pull up to look at the car. The seller's already outside. First start, recognition, he fires it up. Cold, carbureted shake. That uneven idle that sounds like it's clearing its throat. The engine smooths as it warms. Transmission shifts clean. Oil pressure steady. Temperature holding. It isn't perfect. But it's alive. And that's when I feel it. Not excitement. Recognition. Like the car and I both know this isn't casual. The seller's honest. Transparent. Shows me the rust. Points to the rocker. Mentions the noise. He says, "You can drive it home." I don't answer right away. I'm walking around it, running numbers in my head. My wife gives me that look. The look that says, "Don't get carried away." Josh is watching the frame rails. I crouch down, look underneath. Solid structure. That matters. The seller says, "I've got people messaging me." That's pressure. I nod. "Yeah, I'm sure you do." There's a silence, the kind where both people are calculating. I say, "It needs suspension. Rear differential's not happy. Body's going to need attention." He nods. He knows. I don't lowball him, because I don't want to insult him. But I also don't want to pay for potential. I say a number. He pauses, longer than comfortable. Looks at the car, then back at me. He says, "If you're going to take care of it, I can do that." That line matters. This wasn't just negotiation. It was a transfer. When we shook hands, I felt the weight of it. Not excitement. Commitment. The drive home, 4 hours. The trip down was 2 hours. The drive home took almost 4. Besides wanting to keep the speeds low because the car had some issues, we also wanted to keep everyone safe. We took the back roads home, and then the storms hit 3 waves of once-in-a-decade rain. The first wave hit without warning. The sky didn't darken slowly. It opened. Sheets. The shaker scoop disappeared into gray water. The wipers didn't work. I had towels in the car for the leaking T-tops that I remember from my previous Trans Am. That should have told me everything. The second wave was worse. Water running off buildings like waterfalls. Rear differential clunking every time I turned. Limited slip, grabbing like it hadn't seen fresh fluid in years. The suspension wandering just enough to make me question every bump. Every mile felt like a negotiation, and I white-knuckled it all the way. Hands locked, jaw tight, shoulders stiff. Not because I don't know how to drive, because I didn't know what this car might do. When you don't know a machine yet, every noise sounds like a warning. Then hour 3 came, the third wave, biblical. Traffic slowed to a crawl, visibility gone. And somewhere in that third hour, with rain hammering the glass and the rear end reminding me it had opinions, I realized something. This wasn't about getting a Trans Am. It wasn't about WS6 packages. It wasn't about the 403 olds or the Turbo 350. It wasn't even about nostalgia. It was about proving to myself that I could hold on to something I once had to let go. Years ago, I sold one because responsibility demanded it, and I would make that same choice again. But this time, I wasn't letting circumstance take it from me. That 4-hour drive wasn't just distance, it was a test, and I didn't loosen my grip once. The psychological test. The third wave wasn't just rain, it was fatigue. By hour 3, your shoulders ache from tension. Your eyes strain from staring through water distortion. Your mind starts running scenarios. What if the rear locks up? What if I'm stranded halfway between where I used to be and where I'm trying to go? That's metaphor whether you want it to be or not. At one point, traffic slows so much that I can hear the engine over the rain, steady, confident. And I realize something strange. The car isn't panicking. I am. The machine is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Move forward. The fear isn't mechanical, it's emotional. I don't want to lose it again. That's what white-knuckling really is. Not fear of crashing. Fear of repeating. And when we finally break through that third wave into clearer sky, the relief isn't loud, it's quiet, like something unclenched inside my chest. The mirror. We finally pull into storage. Engine steady. Oil pressure good. Temperature holding. I shut it off. The ticking of hot metal fills the quiet. I sit there, hands finally relaxed. I step out. Look at it. Same kind of concrete floor as years ago. Same quiet. But this garage doesn't feel empty. It feels full. Not because the car's perfect. It needs suspension work, rear differential attention, paint stripped, bodywork done right. Lucerne blue, gold trim, WS6 Discovery. Later, when I piece together the build sheet, WS6 confirmed. 4-wheel disc brakes, heavy-duty suspension, factory-wide wheels. Real, not cloned, not dressed up, authentic. And I sit with that for a minute. Because years ago, I thought I lost something special. Now I realize something. I didn't just find another Trans Am, I found one with pedigree. And that matters more than I expected. Because this isn't just nostalgia, it's legitimacy. It's a reminder that sometimes when life gives something back, it gives it back with substance, not just sentiment. And that makes the responsibility heavier, not lighter. The one I sold had WS6 wheels, but it wasn't a WS6. I just really liked the look of the wider wheels. So I found a set and installed them on my car. Now, I actually own a true WS6 car. I could not believe it myself, but build sheets don't lie. My brother's Trans Am is what started it all. Then came my first Trans Am, which was a dream. This one is earned. Years ago, I stood in a garage that felt too big, too quiet, too responsible. Now I stand in one that feels balanced. Some things aren't gone forever. They're waiting for you to become the man who can keep them. And this time, I'm not letting it go so easily.